Hey guys, it's time for the Dirty South Roubaix race report. The Dirty South gods have decided that 5 hours is a time that I am never going to finish in, like faster than. 5 hours is like my limit. 5 hours and 7 minutes last year, 5 hours and 10 minutes this year. And this year I was going to be well under 5 hours. In fact, I was looking at like probably 440 or so. And with 2 miles to go, I flatted. And like, that is most insane, because like at this point the gravel's over, and it wasn't just like I must have had a slow flat because I felt it coming on for a while. I stopped, I took my tire off pretty quickly, put my spare tube in. I had people come by. You got everything? Yep, good. Got everything? Yep, good. I really want to apologize to the guy when he come by and he said, you got everything? And I screamed some cuss words. It wasn't your fault, sir. It was mine. The valve core had popped out when I unscrewed the tube off of the valve, and I lost all the air. So then I had to stop. But a really nice dude named Matt, and I think it's Matt Markle from Champaign. If not, yeah, somebody named Matt stopped, and he's like, what's wrong? And I said, I need my valve core. And he had a valve core tool, Hey, a lot of these people actually carry stuff, unlike me, who's just like, I've got one tube and a pump. And guess what? I aired up the tube. I got going again. I got probably 100 feet from where I was, and the tube went pfft. So, yeah, I don't know. Bad spare tube. 2 weeks in a row, bad spare tube. So, anyway, I suck. I'm my own worst enemy. So let's go into, first off, what's happened this year. We'll start with training. This year, I did 0 gym. We moved. I don't have access to a gym anymore. I mean, I could easily have access to a gym, but I decided instead of doing the gym, which I don't really like working out at a gym that much. I just did all Zwift racing all the time. I did Zwift racing about once or and easy zone 1 or 2 rides the rest of the week. And that's really all I've done. That and work on mountain bike trails, which was a little bit of strength training, I guess, and some mountain bike riding. I did like 1 gravel ride, and then I did a gravel race last weekend, and that's about it. So let's talk about that preparation, the gravel preparation. Like last year, I didn't do anything for a week. I just like kind of tapered off for the ride. And I had a pretty easy week before that even. I wanted to go into it as, tapered and, strong as possible. So this year I did the 2x4 race 6 days ago. They rescheduled it. It's ice and snow the day that it was supposed to be, which would have actually probably been fun. Maybe not. But they rescheduled it to the week before the Dirty South. And yeah, I had a flat. I only ended up racing 3.5 hours on that instead of the 4. But I think 4 hours of hard gravel racing with lots of climbing is maybe going to take me more than a week to get over. My TSS for that ride was around 400, I think. So that's probably going to take me more than 6 days to really get over. The whole week leading up to this Dirty South, I just didn't feel very good. I only rode the trainer twice, easy both times, pretty easy both times. And I just never did feel really good. So maybe that had an effect. Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but I'd paid for the race and I'm glad I did it. It was fun, the 2x4, but it probably wasn't great to do a back-to-back gravel races weekend after weekend. Okay, so now let's get into my bike. So I'm not a big fan of my gravel bike. I used to ride a Jake the Snake cyclocross bike, and I loved it. I mean, it didn't have disc brakes. It was old school, but it was a light and just fun bike to ride. And now I have this Breezer inversion, which is, on paper, looks like it's an awesome bike. I mean, it looks like it should be awesome. It's kind of more of a touring adventure bike than it really is a race bike, but it's also supposed to weigh 22 pounds, 21 pounds, from the factory, but mine weighs 27 pounds. And again, I don't know if that's really that big of a deal, 26 and a half or something, 5 extra pounds, 4 extra pounds. I mean, I'm pretty heavy. I don't think that really matters that much, but it gets in my head, and the bike just kind of feels slow and sluggish. It does have a very long wheelbase compared to a lot of gravel bikes. So maybe it just, but it also handles super good. I feel really in control on it. I really like the way it handles. but at the same time, it also just kind of feels a little bit sluggish in my fit. I've never really been able to feel like I'm dialed in on my fit. And I think it has some component issues. I know it has some component issues. I've been trying mountain bike gearing for the last couple of years to get it to work, since I didn't want to buy, like, the only way I could figure out to get it to work was to buy a Wolf Tooth tan pan adapter, which is like a little thing that adapts the 105 down tube shift, or the 105 drop bar shifters, to work with like a Dior mountain bike derailleur, so I can have a 46 tooth cassette. It works really, really good for like the first 3 or 4 gears, and then it just doesn't really work. So you have to shift like twice to get it to go 1 gear, then back up a gear. It's really annoying. I think if I recabled the bike and stuff, that would probably help. But I know even recabled, it just didn't work that well down there. It's too much drag in the system, and also the way the bike's cabled, it just doesn't really work. So I think it's time to get rid of that and go back to something else, do something different, or buy some proper components for it. And then I have this like mountain bike style crank on it, and it just seems like it's really, really wide. Every time I get on the bike, it's wide. Oh my gosh, look at this guy. Now this is something I have to admit, I feel horrible about this. I totally forgot about this guy. Like, I wanted to, be there to clap for him at the end. And by the end, I was so, bummed out and depressed about my poor flat tire and finishing on a flat tire and sucking and everything, that I completely forgot. Now I feel horrible. But this guy, I mean, I don't know if he finished 100K. I don't know anything about him, but what an inspiration. So tire pressure is my next, tire pressure. So yeah, this is where I really screwed up. So last year, and for a long time, I've been running 700 by 35 Gravel King SKs, because I actually won them one year at this race when I was like taking photos or something. They kind of a prize for me, and they have been fantastic. The Panaracer Gravel King SK is just like, awesome traction, awesome rolling resistance, and I never had flats. I don't run tubeless, I run tubes. And there's a reason for that I won't get into. But probably 3 years on those tires without flats is pretty awesome. I might have had 1 flat. So the back tire was pretty well bald, and I decided to replace it. And the bike shop just happened to have a standard Gravel King in a 32. And I was like, oh, that'd be a little faster for the back. That's all I need for the back is a 32. And it just doesn't work. I don't know if it's me, my bike, the wheels. I don't know. I used to run 28s on gravel and never had a problem. I used to run like 30 and 32 cyclocross tires, and I didn't really have flats. But on these new wheels on this particular bike, I just cannot seem to avoid flats with anything smaller than 35. So I've got to change tires. Now I should have changed tires. I had an extra tire. I had some tires that were given to me by my good buddy Michael Norris, who's always trying to help me out. And I thought about switching them out, and I just decided, kind of partially out of laziness, but also I just thought, I had that 1 flat. It was a one-off thing. This tire is fast. I want to be fast. There's lots and lots of road. This was a wet, Dirty South. The gravel you can see through here, it was mushy. It was wet in places, and some parts drained well and were dry, but like, there was some wet and mushy areas. The actual levee was horrible. The levee is where I come off the rails. Now, all through here on the Pine Hill section, I felt fine. The road was a little bit soft, was a little bit mushy, and I know I definitely rode it faster when it was dry. In fact, I know I rode it faster when it was actually covered in snow and ice, because it was like hard. You could stay on top of that icy snow, and I was actually faster, I think, than I was today in the mushy wet gravel. But the 32 just wasn't enough tire. I know that was why. And then the big problem, I put stupid amounts of air pressure in it. Like, my buddy Sean Hargis was running 30, I think he told me it was like either under 40, 38, 39, 40 pounds of pressure in his tires, which I think he said were 38s. I had close to 70 in the front, and I had about 75 in the back. And that's just it was fine on the road. It was great on the road, but anytime I got on the gravel, it was like it would rattle your bones, and my neck and my shoulders, my arms, my hands, my feet hurt from all the shock running through my feet. It was horrible. Just too much air pressure. I mean, there's a reason why people are running low air pressure tires and tubeless and stuff. And I'm just not smart enough to understand that, you know. But I learned today it was the roughest ride I've ever had on a gravel bike. And I'm pretty sure in the past, on those Gravel Kings, I was running, you know, closer to like 50, 55 in them, which is still a lot, but I'm a pretty big, heavy guy. So tire pressure, tire choice really screwed me on this ride. Just bad choices. Okay, finally, I wanted to, well, not finally, one other thing. My friends are killing it, and I'm going to have to do something if I want to keep riding with any of them. You know, like my friend Sean, who's just like the last 10 years has gone from, you know, being kind of mediocre cyclist to being one of the best cyclists in Southern Illinois. He finished a ride in 3:30 something, probably the fastest Southern Illinois time, if I had to guess. I don't know if there was somebody faster than him from the area, but I mean 3:38, 3:36, something like that. Crazy fast. My friend Hank has done a fitness like overhaul. He's lost a bunch of weight. He's super strong. He knocked over an hour off his time from last year, like finished under 4 hours this year. Insane. Katie was second in her age group, and that's incredible. Second in her age group, and I couldn't hold her wheel. Katie just, you know, free to fly this race. Even my buddy Jeff, who I don't know that well, he had a great time in, I think, his first Dirty South 100K, you know, just doing fantastic. So anyway, long story short, it was probably one of the best Dirty South so far. The food choices were a lot better this year. And I always liked the baked potato, but I mean, it was cool to have different choices of food, and also to just be able to buy more, to actually have food trucks there, because usually that's kind of a limiting factor, you know, at the end of the race. The after race party was awesome, huge crowds, cheering everybody in as they finished up the race. And so Jason and Mo and Pat, they put on an awesome event. I mean, to me, this ride doesn't get the credit it deserves. I'm sure that if you start looking it up online, you won't find it listed with the best gravel races in the country, but it is. There's no reason to do more because he sells out every year, but this race should be covered by, you know, the major media. It should attract top-level talent because this is a top-level race, and it is so hard. Until next year, guys, on the Dirty South, I'll try again. Maybe I can break 5 hours next year. Maybe I'll get some bigger tires. See you later.